Hello, welcome back. And today I'm going to show you an incredible tool from Microsoft that uses AI to bring old photos back to life. Whether it's super old photos that are grainy, torn, missing parts, doesn't matter. It uses AI and it can absolutely restore them. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is found on replicate.com and I'll drop the link below in the description. This is a project from Microsoft called Bringing Old Photos Back to Life, one of the most popular projects on the Replicate platform. Now, Microsoft has provided a few examples, and in this one, you can see this very old, grainy photo has been completely restored. Crisp, better color, no grain. It looks amazing. Let's look at a few more examples. Here's another photo which has been torn, creased, cracked, and it has done an incredible job of bringing the color back to life, removing the tears, removing the creases, and it's just super impressive. And here's another example. Another very old photo, very grainy. This tends to happen with really old photos because of the chemicals that they've used, and over time it just happens. And in the restored version, all of the grain is removed, the color's popping, the color's crisper, the picture is crisper, it just looks great. Very impressive. And so I tried it myself. I actually recently found thousands of old photos from my family. Some of them were in better shape than others. And so I had them digitized and I wanted to test out some of those old photos, especially the ones that have suffered some damage or were really old, and test out this project. What you have to do is you go into the demo tab, you want to grab a photo. And so the first one I'm going to use is actually my dad when he was younger. And you can see some scratches, a lot of grain, a lot of discoloration. And there's two options. HR, so that's whether the input image is high resolution, or with scratch, whether the input image is scratched. And since these white lines right here are visible, I'm going to say, yeah, that's a scratch. So let's select that and I'll click submit. And it does take a bit of time. Sometimes it fails. What I've noticed is when it fails, you'll get index out of range error. You'll get a couple other errors. When I shrunk the image size down, so originally this was around 1,000 by 1,000 pixels, and now it's about 500 by 500. It tends to work more frequently when you have smaller sized images. So keep that in mind if you do get an error. So here you can see it's actually detecting faces, it's enhancing faces, and this is a completely free product, I should mention. And here's the results. All the grain was removed, the skin looks a lot better, the image is much more crisp, and all the damage more or less seems to be gone. I see this little blotch mark right here that's still visible. But overall, that's really impressive. Let's try another example. Here's an old photo of my wife's family. It's probably about 20 years old. Lots of damage here. So we'll mark that it has a scratch and we'll run it. Okay, so we have a list index out of range error. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to reduce the size of the image and let's try again. So I'm going to do 500 width and let's see if that fixes the issue. So you can see it's a much smaller image now. Okay, so that time it worked. It got rid of a lot of the scratches, the creases, but it did not get rid of this blue paint that's on there. I'd say it's still a pretty big improvement. Very cool. So yeah, if you have old photos, especially if you've already had them digitized, you can load them up into Microsoft's Bringing Old Photos Back to Life project and restore much of the image. Not all of it, it's not perfect, but it still does a great job. Now I want to show off a couple other things in replicate.com. If you go to the Explore tab, you can find different collections of AI projects that are categorized. And so in this collection, this is all about image restoration. This is where I found Microsoft's project, Bringing Old Photos Back to Life. They also have other image restoration projects. So here's an example where you can take a small blurry image and it'll actually upscale it and make it much more crisp. Let's look at a few more examples. So this one, quite grainy on the left, pretty good on the right. I think this one is the most impressive. So this is a little chip, very small image on the left, the input image, and on the right, a much bigger, higher quality image, all done with AI. And then here's a last example. This is a blurry, small image, upscaled to be a crisper, bigger version of it. And this one is quite impressive. So here's another one. This is called 10 cent arc. And this is the same thing. You're essentially taking old photos, grainy photos, and restoring them into something that looks much, much better. So not only an old photo that has a lot of grain to it, but also a newer photo that isn't super high quality. You can make it better looking. Here's another example. Very, very grainy old photo. This one kind of looks a little weird with the face. I think they did a little bit too much processing on these faces, but still it looks much better than the original image. Albert Einstein. Here's one all about colorization. I know colorization is very popular. There's an entire subreddit dedicated to it. So this is AI that does colorization for you. So here's the input image and the output image, and a few versions with different colors. Let's look at another example. Marilyn Monroe, black and white, and now she's in color. Albert Einstein, black and white, and now in color. This used to take people a lot of time in Photoshop to accomplish, and I'm sure they do a better job than this, but it's still impressive that this is essentially one click for anybody to achieve. And here's an example of a bluebird, and you can actually change its color. And this looks very, very natural. So this one's called CJWBW Big Color. I'll link all of these in the description. And here's another colorization project called Aerial Replicate. De-oldify image. Input, output, input, output. And here's that very famous photo of the workman sitting on the beam, now colorized. So that's it. I wanted to show off a few of these cool projects. I have a bunch of old photos that I'm going to restore using some of these projects, and I'm really excited about it. I hope you find some value in it as well. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.